I'm Eric Rosales. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, meeting of leaders. President Trump welcomes the Polish president to the White House. What important issue they discussed. A week after a deadly shooting at a Catholic church, Vice President J.D. Vance visits Minneapolis, how he spent the day. As the church prepares to canonize Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, we sit down with the Cardinal. What he says we can all learn from the soon-to-be saint. Plus, get your motor running. Why Pope Leo was given a special motorcycle. These stories and much more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you so much for being with us on the Feast of St. Gregory the Great. Our top story tonight. President Donald Trump welcomes Poland's president to the Oval Office, saying the U.S. has a tremendous relationship with that country, adding that now it's better than ever. Their meeting comes as Poland's neighbor Ukraine continues to fight against Russia. Meanwhile, Russia's president travels to China to watch a huge military parade. For the very latest, let's check in with White House correspondent Owen Jensen. Owen.
Eric, good evening to you. While China showed off its military hardware on the south lawn of the White House, when the president of Poland arrived, he was greeted by American air power.
President Donald Trump says hello to Poland's new president, Karol Nawrocki, and moments later, looking up in the sky, a flyover demonstrating the strong and lasting ties between the U.S. and Poland. Inside the Oval Office, words of support and strength from both leaders, Poland's president hoping to make the case that the U.S. needs to maintain its robust military presence in his country.
We're with Poland all the way, and we will help Poland protect itself.
With American soldiers on Polish soil, we solidify and we are secure.
Their meeting comes as peace efforts in Ukraine seem to be fruitless so far. Russia's relentless attacks continued today, leaving behind piles of rubble in western Ukraine. Firefighters doused the flames with water, not knowing when the next attack would come. President Trump has been trying to abruptly end the fighting by getting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russia's Vladimir Putin to start talking.
Well, I'm having a conversation with him very shortly, and I'll know pretty much what we're going to be doing. We've taken very strong action, as you know, and in other ways we've taken very strong action. But I'll be speaking to him over the next few days, and we're going to see.
With who, sir?
I'm going to know exactly what's happening.
Meanwhile, China showcasing its military power in a parade marking the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Leaders from about 24 countries, including Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, in attendance. Just last night, President Trump posted on Truth Social, "May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." Asked about that social media post today, President Trump said China's president is a friend of his, adding,
My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two.
Now, during their meeting in the Oval Office, President Trump remarked that Poland's president, who is Catholic, would soon be meeting with Pope Leo. He called that very exciting, and President Trump asked President Nawrocki to say hello to the Pope for him. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you so much, Owen. And joining us now on more on the issue is Ambassador John Herbst, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine and Uzbekistan. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. First off, how important was the meeting today with the Polish president?
Well, it was a critical first step for Trump to meet with the new president of Poland. We've had excellent relations with Poland since the end of the former Soviet Union and Poland's emergence as an independent state, Poland's entry into NATO in the 90s. And Trump's reaffirming that relationship and American provision of security for Poland as part of NATO.
And right now, American troops, there's about 8,000 troops in Poland right now, American troops. Why such a strong presence there?
Look, the Soviet Union, Russia, Putin, want to reclaim their influence over what had once been the Soviet Empire.
Right.
They want to reverse the defense measures taken in Eastern Europe since Poland and other nations joined NATO. He is threatening Poland as he is conducting an aggression in Ukraine. So bulking up American forces, NATO forces in Poland is good for the United States.
Well, that has been one of the major concerns there, that Putin would not stop if he actually did go into much further into Ukraine and then into Poland. I mean, that is still a concern, correct?
It's a concern, and it's a right concern. Putin has made clear in numerous statements he wants to have effective political control of Ukraine, and he wants to have the ability to dictate events across all the countries that once made up the former Soviet Union. And he wants to change the security posture of the states of the former Warsaw Pact. So those are designs which cut directly against vital American interests. And a place to stop them is in Ukraine.
And let's talk a little bit about today's meeting. What message does this send to China's president and also Russian President Vladimir Putin?
Well, first and foremost, it's a message to Putin because Putin's the one who is threatening Poland. We know that there have been numerous Russian drones overflying Polish airspace. One crashed there about 2.5 weeks ago. Again, we know that Putin, if he wins in Ukraine, is likely to make some demonstration against one of our NATO allies. So the idea is to demonstrate that we will be there to protect our NATO allies. This is the way to deter future war. This is the way to prevent the current Russian aggression in Ukraine from going beyond Ukraine.
As our White House correspondent Owen Jensen reported there that the Polish president will in fact meet with Pope Leo XIV. What will that meeting look like?
And this is the new Pope. So, of course, the president of Poland wants to have a chance to meet with him. So I see this as a positive for the president. I see a positive for the new Pope. It's a good thing.
Ambassador Herbst, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, President Donald Trump says his administration will ask the U.S. Supreme Court for an immediate hearing after an appeals court ruled against his tariffs. In the decision last week, the court said that the president went too far when he declared national emergencies to justify tariffs on more than 90 countries. The ruling largely upheld a May decision by a federal trade court in New York. However, the judges are allowing the tariffs to remain in place while the case moves through the appeals process. President Trump talked about it in the Oval Office today.
Tariffs are vital to our country. And just so you know, other countries use them on us, but I just used them a lot better. We're in a much better position. We have trillions of dollars coming into our country. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be a very poor nation, and we would be taken advantage of by every other nation in the world, friend and foe.
For more on this tariffs issue, let's bring in Tim Phillips, the Director of Government Affairs and Global Strategies at Nest Point. Last week, on True Social, the president wrote, "If this allows to stand, that the decision will literally destroy the United States of America." What would happen if this decision does stand?
Well, if the decision stands, if the Supreme Court backs up President Trump on tariffs, then we'll have a sense of continuity, and we will not have the dramatic chaos that will happen if the court rules against him. The current decision at the lower level is stayed until October 14. So the Supreme Court's going to have to move quickly here. And I have to say, this will be the most momentous decision on the economy for the Supreme Court since the Obamacare decision of 2009, when the Chief Justice Roberts-led court ruled that Obamacare was constitutional and that it could stand. If they overrule President Trump on these tariffs, then you've got hundreds upon hundreds of billions of dollars of commerce that at that point could have to be refunded by the American government. We have uncertainty at that moment on tariffs and taxes. This is an enormously important decision by the Supreme Court.
Now, a stay is in place until October 14th. Now, what does this mean for the global supply chain? I mean, do companies out there, do they just have to take a wait-and-see approach?
This is incredibly difficult for them. The good news is that they normally are moving a quarter or so, a quarter calendar of the year ahead anyway. So this would not have a near-term effect, example, in the next weeks or months, but it could begin hitting the Christmas season, which is the biggest retail season, obviously, of the year.
Right.
It could be devastating for that Christmas season, which it could impact and beyond. So, Chief Justice Roberts, the other 8 members of this court, it'll be the biggest decision in decades that they make, whether or not they allow the Trump tariffs to stay in place or whether they rule them unconstitutional. And court watchers genuinely do not know where the court, the individual members are going to land. There are 6 conservatives on the court, but this decision does seem to be scrambling some of the individual justices.
Now, Tim, do you think that the administration currently has a backup plan right now, and if the Supreme Court upholds the appeals court decision?
I do. I think Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and others that are crucial in the president's economic policy team do have a backup plan. However, these tariffs have been built over the course of many months. They're now in effect with a large chunk of the world. So being able to find a backstop, a new way to execute these that would not require a months-long slog through Congress, it would be very difficult. But I'm sure Treasury Secretary Bessent and Commerce Secretary Lutnick are working with the president on a backup plan. But boy, there would be short-term chaos. There's no question about that.
Most definitely. Well, Tim Phillips, thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
You bet.
On Capitol Hill, the Jeffrey Epstein files continue to dominate the headlines for Republicans in the U.S. House. Epstein died behind bars in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. GOP Congressman Thomas Massie, along with Congressman Democrat Ro Khanna, are gathering signatures on a bipartisan measure aimed at forcing the Department of Justice, the FBI, and other agencies to release all the files to the public.
A nation that allows rich and powerful men to traffic and abuse young girls without consequence is a nation that has lost its moral and spiritual core.
There are real victims to this criminal enterprise, and the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
But House Republican leaders oppose the position.
I would not put much stock into what Thomas Massie says. The House Republicans have been very consistent about maximum disclosure, maximum transparency with the Epstein file. But we had to do it in a way that would protect the innocent victims of these horrific crimes. We have achieved that now.
Victims of Epstein's abuse joined the 2 lawmakers at a Capitol Hill news conference, calling for the release of all files and demanding accountability for a cover-up.
The constant state of wonder causes me so much fear and so much confusion. My therapist says that my brain is just trying to protect itself. But it's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do.
Why was Jeffrey Epstein so protected? Who is still being protected? And who protected them all, so the world can understand how Jeffrey was able to abuse so many of us for so long.
Just recently, the Justice Department released to the House Oversight Committee more than 33,000 documents so far, which Chairman James Comer says are now available to the public.
They were not only victims of unspeakable crimes, but were also betrayed by their own government, which failed to deliver justice and accountability. The House Oversight Committee is committed to providing transparency and accountability for these brave survivors and for the American people.
It is important to note that in order to force House lawmakers to vote on the discharge petition, 218 signatures would be needed. Both Congressman Massie and Khanna say that they will gather enough signatures to force a vote this week. Well, just a few hours ago, several dozen protesters briefly disrupted media workspace in the Russell Senate office building on Capitol Hill. You can see there the protesters rolled out banners and shouted, "No cuts to health care, no cuts to Medicaid." You may recall President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill passed by the Republican-controlled Congress slashed billions of dollars in Medicaid. Capitol Police arrested several of the protesters and confiscated their banners. Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady paid a visit to Minneapolis today to pay respects to the victims of the Annunciation church shooting. After placing flowers at the site of the August shooting, they participated in a number of private meetings with families of those affected behind closed doors. Now, their visit marks a week since 2 children were killed and 21 others injured, including 18 children. We still have a lot more to come on EWTN News Nightly, including a look inside. 2 new saints will be canonized this Sunday, their lives and how they touched the world around them. And Pope Leo reflects on Jesus' final words and the meaning behind them. Welcome back. Pope Leo explains that one of Jesus' last words on the cross, "I thirst," is not only the physical need of a tortured body, but above all the expression of a profound desire for love, relationship, and communion.
Si lascia attraversare anche da questa sete.
In his weekly talk, the Holy Father focused on Jesus' final words on the cross, "I thirst and it is finished," highlighting how, in expressing human need, Jesus reveals himself not as a triumphant hero, but as a supplicant for love and communion with humanity. He emphasized that this profound expression, asking for what he cannot give himself, teaches us that true love is not about self-sufficiency, but about humility, trust, and the freedom to ask for help. In just a few days, the Catholic Church will have 2 new saints. Blessed Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati will be canonized this Sunday. EWTN News sat down with Cardinal Semeraro, prefect of the Congregation for the Causes of Saints.
Your Eminence, thank you so much for inviting us into your office here right next to St. Peter's Basilica. This is the place where saints are created. In this Jubilee year, we will see another canonization of a saintly hero of the youth, Pier Giorgio Frassati.
Frassati is a young man who is around at least 24 years old. This is an adult person who has made life choices, a person who is not at the beginning of his studies. He was about to graduate in mining engineering. He had so many relationships that even on the day of his death, he was surprised by the presence of so many people he had helped during his life. A great Italian writer, a great man of letters, a writer, a poet, Giovanni Papini said in one of his introductions to a biography of Frassati, "Pier Giorgio kept his good works hidden, as we so often keep our sins hidden. He hid the good works, the works of charity that he was doing. And all this came out of the blue, leaving his father and his mother astonished. His mother wondered, 'But why are these people coming? Why are they coming to our house after my son has died?' And no one understood why." We have to understand that people had different lifestyles then. So Pier Giorgio's mother was nervous when he came home late at night. She wondered what he had done and what he had been up to. But Pier Giorgio would come from Eucharistic adoration, which was done in the parish until late at night. When we think of Frassati, we should not only talk about a commitment to the life of faith, to the spiritual life, or charity. With Frassati, we also talk about a political commitment. He was very close to the popular movements, for example. In Italy at the time, it was Sturzo's popular party. He was very close. There are also figures in socialism at the time, like Filippo Turati, etc., who talk about Frassati as this strong man.
But what can we learn from Pier Giorgio Frassati?
Di Pier Giorgio possiamo imparare una vita.
From Pier Giorgio, we can learn a busy life open on many fronts, especially on the social front. He chose to study mining engineering in order to be close to the miners who were emigrating to Belgium at that time. He makes it clear that he had made this choice to be close to the most needy class of the time. However, in addition to this sense of charity, I think there are other aspects that we can take to heart. First of all, the strong sense of friendship, and then what was called in a book written 10 years ago, the age of sad passions. in which there is so much despair that even here we see very worrying indices of youth depression, and Pier Giorgio provokes us to be joyous. That is a very important testimony. Joy, which is different from cheerfulness or happiness, at least in the Italian language, joy is more than just happiness, which is motivated by external reasons. It comes from inner reasons, from reasons of inner peace, of having found one's identity, of having made life choices, of feeling capable of serious relationships. And maybe today we need this kind of joy very much.
Serie, e da questo viene la gioia, e forse oggi ne abbiamo molto bisogno.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, a unique gift on wheels. The Jesus Bikers roll into the Vatican with a special surprise for Pope Leo. Plus, a first look inside a new animated film that's bringing the life of Christ to the big screen from a unique perspective. At the end of the general audience in Rome this morning, the Jesus Bikers surprised Pope Leo with a unique gift on wheels. Take a look. The Jesus Bikers are a Christian motorcycle group from Germany dedicated to combining their passion for biking and their faith. In 2019, they traveled from Germany and presented Pope Francis with a white Harley-Davidson motorcycle. And they continued their unique tradition, and they have now presented Pope Leo XIV with a specially designed white BMW R18, nicknamed the Pope motorcycle.
The purpose is not just fun and coming to the Pope, but also to help the poorest of the poor. I'm responsible for the Pontifical Mission Societies in Austria, and we shall try to sell it and get as much as possible to help children in trafficking in Madagascar.
After driving all the way from Germany, the Jesus Bikers have completed their journey and will return home, and their mission continues as they spread messages of faith, peace, and solidarity on the road ahead. A new animated film is hitting theaters this week, telling the story of the life of Christ from a unique perspective. EWTN News' Julia Convery has more.
The Light of the World, a new animated film following the life of Christ, is only in theaters this Friday, September 5th.
With the honey and the wild hair.
Put on by the Salvation Poem Project, it's not only hand-drawn 2D animation, but it's also told from the perspective of the youngest apostle, John.
This is Jesus.
Never heard of him.
The directors explain the unique choice of perspective.
But we wrote it in mind specifically for people who don't have a concept of the gospel or Jesus. And John really becomes that audience member. So when John discovers himself, starts to trust Jesus or starts to question Jesus, that is the audience.
I knew a guy who ate those. The baptizer.
The film follows John's adventures with Christ from the beginning of his ministry all the way through his resurrection. A journey that the audience and the directors can relate to.
Just watching John and the relationship he has with Jesus and that type of friendship, because I know it says in the Bible, he calls us friends. Mm-hmm. But when we were making this movie and we're doing the dialogue and all that, that's what I came across is how truly he is our friend.
And although the film is animated, it's not only meant for kids.
And if you can't pay, we take your father to prison.
Even I know a lot of people are going to go, well, it's animated, it's a cartoon. We don't see it that way. We see these as characters as being real. Obviously, they are from the Bible times, but I'm saying even our animated versions, we have to love, we fall in love with our John, with our Peter, with our Jesus. And every expression and pose hopefully shows that.
Though the hand-drawn animation is time-consuming, directors say there was an even bigger challenge they had to face.
I worked on Lion King and Aladdin and a bunch of the Disney films, and drawing Pocahontas was very hard, I can tell you that. But Jesus has this not only tough to draw, but also this extra challenge and of like, we got to get this right.
Amidst a surge in biblical media, this film adds to a growing trend, spotlighting the life of Christ.
Let me just tell you, the stories in the Bible are the best stories. Like, they're the best stories. They're the best ever told. And so it's like we have a treasure trove.
The hope for the film? A Jesus to stand the test of time. Julia Convery, EWTN News Nightly.
And for more information on finding a screening near you, visit lightoftheworld.com. Today is September the 3rd, the feast day of St. Gregory I the Great, a pope and a doctor of the Church. Born in the year 540 to a prominent Roman family, he advanced in the ranks and leadership in the city of Rome. Before the age of 30, however, he decided to give his life to God and founded 6 monasteries. At the age of 50, he was elected pope, known for his liturgical reforms and his efforts to promote the conversion of England. He is ranked as one of the greatest pontiffs. He coined the phrase used by his successor that they are the servants of God. Gregory died in 604 and was proclaimed a saint immediately after his death by popular acclamation. Pope St. Gregory the Great, pray for us. Want to thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, X and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Eric Rosales. Have a good night y vaya con Dios.